Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings upon each and every one who hears or sees this video. My name is Kenny Bomer. My Muslim name is Mujahid Al-Islam. I'm the author of the book Consider Islam. And I want to start by saying La ilaha illallah wa shadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. I bear witness there's no God other than Allah. And I bear witness that Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is his final servant, the seal of all prophets. One of the greatest misconceptions in Islam is regarding apostasy, or the death for apostasy in particular. People, Muslims and non-Muslims alike, have very limited understanding in many instances about the stipulations regarding apostasy or the punishment for apostasy. If you're not familiar with what apostasy is, it's when someone leaves their religion. And so there's a lot of, once again, misconception about this, and I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts my efforts to explain the rules and stipulations regarding apostasy and the punishment for apostasy. I do want to point out that there's 49 Muslim majority countries in the world, and not all of them follow Sharia. Matter of fact, I believe only 13 Muslim majority countries actually implement Sharia, and not one of them implements Sharia 100% accurately. They don't follow Sharia exactly the way it's supposed to be followed. And so let's clear up some things. And if you're a Muslim, I do encourage you to learn these 5 or 6 rules regarding apostasy or the punishment for apostasy, so that you can share this information with other people, especially when they attack Islam continually. If you're a non-Muslim, I ask you to clear your mind, open your mind up to hearing the truth, and consider these 5 or 6 stipulations that must be implemented for someone to be put to death regarding apostasy, or what equates to treason, a treasonous act. Okay, so let's get into it. Pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala once again accepts my efforts to reveal this information. I pray that it forgives me for any mistakes that I might make along the way. I'm certainly trying to share the beauty of Islam and speak the truth. So, first and foremost, for someone to be put to death regarding apostasy or leaving Islam, it must be during a time of war. It must be equated to what's considered treason. And so, what is treason? Treason is the crime of betraying one's country, especially by attempting to kill the sovereign or overthrow the government. Synonyms for treason are treachery, disloyalty, betrayal, faithlessness, or the act of betraying someone or something. So once again, synonyms are treachery, disloyalty, betrayal, faithlessness. Historically, it's the crime of murdering someone to whom the murderer owed allegiance, such as a master or a husband. That's what the actual definition of treason says. So it's also espionage, which is obtaining classified information pertaining to national defense for use of a foreign nation, or the practice of spying, or the use of spies, typically by governments, to obtain political or military information. Synonyms for espionage are spying, infiltration, eavesdropping, surveillance, reconnaissance, intelligence, undercover work, black operations, informal black ops, revealing military secrets, revealing locations of forces or the community, or revealing vital information regarding arms, provisions, numbers of combatants, etc. And so first and foremost, for someone to be killed by death, punished by death for apostasy in Islam, it must be during a time of war. If it's not during a time of war, it can't be done. It cannot be done simply because someone left their religion. They must have left their religion and betrayed the community in the process of leaving their religion. So they left their religion and they exposed critical information about the community that actually put the community in danger, or put the military forces in danger. If there's no war taking place, then death for apostasy cannot be implemented, period. Secondly, there must be, first and foremost, it must be in a time of war, and these acts of treason must have been overheard by the Muslim forces themselves. And it has to be more than one person, not just one person. There has to be more than one witness. They have to have overheard an individual or a group of individuals betraying or giving vital information or doing something that would put the community at risk. Okay, so it must be a time of war, and they must have been overheard by the Muslim forces. And it must be a law of the land. Death for apostasy or treason, what equates to treason, must be a law of the land. If it's not a law of the land, it cannot be implemented. A person cannot be killed for apostasy or for treason. There's many countries in the world that have death for treason in their countries, and if it's a law of the land, then that's the punishment that the community has decided upon. If it's not a law of the land, it cannot be enacted. If it is a law of the land, it must be judged in a court of law. Once again, it must be judged in a court of law. And the fifth one is the person must be given a time to seek forgiveness and actually return to Islam in the event that they were a Muslim and they left Islam. Maybe, in many instances, these people were actually just simply spies, or they were half-heartedly engaged with the Muslims and claiming that they were Muslim, and in reality they were trying to betray the Muslims. Okay, and so once again, it must be a time of war, and which is equated to an act of treason or betraying the community, putting the community at risk. It must be overheard by the Muslim forces, by more than one witness. It must be a law of the land. It must be judged in a court of law, and they must give the individual or the individuals time to seek forgiveness, and forgiveness is always an option. So in countries such as the U.S., I don't actually know what the punishment for treason is in the U.S. I don't know if it's the death penalty or not, to be honest. But in many instances, people receive lesser sentences. The same thing applies in Islam. If someone seeks forgiveness, they return to the community and seek forgiveness. They seek forgiveness from Allah. Then forgiveness is always an option. But first and foremost, you cannot put someone to death because they simply left their religion. It's not allowed in Islam. That it's not Sharia. Sharia is that it must be a time of war. Sharia is that it must be person must be overheard by the Muslim forces. Sharia is it must be a law of the land. It must be judged in a court of law, and the person must be given a time period to seek forgiveness. And forgiveness is always an option. A lesser penalty or punishment is always an option. So we continually have ex-Muslims, so-called ex-Muslims, people who claim that they were Muslims and they have suddenly become atheists. And I always question the sincerity of these people. Obviously they must have grown up in Muslim homes where they were just basically going to prayer and their heart wasn't in it. And, that's similar to a person that may be going to practice for your favorite sports team. If their heart's not in it, they're just going through the motions. They're not really trying, and what good is that going to do you? It's best to let that person go, and just let them go about their business and let them do what they want to do, and don't concern yourself with that individual because their heart's not in it. And certainly, why would someone want someone in their religion being a part of their religion whose heart's not in it? Of course, if someone leaves Islam, as Muslims, we should try to speak with them and try to reason with them and try to see what the issues were and try to lead them back to the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our God, our Creator. But by no means is anyone allowed to harm this individual or these individuals who leave Islam. Must be at a time of war, must be overheard by Muslim forces, must be a law of the land, must be judged in a court of law, and they must be given time to seek forgiveness, and forgiveness is always an option. In regards to these people who leave Islam, so-called ex-Muslims that are now atheists, the Quran addresses these people in Surah Baqarah, verse 7 through 14. Alhamdulillah, says, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. It says, and of mankind there are some hypocrites who say, we believe in Allah and the last day, while in fact they believe not. They think to deceive Allah and those who believe, while they only deceive themselves and perceive it not. In their hearts is a disease, Alhamdulillah. In their hearts is a disease of doubt and hypocrisy, and Allah has increased their disease. A painful torment is theirs because they used to tell lies. And when it is said to them, make not mischief on the earth, they say, we're only the peacemakers. Verily, they are the ones who make mischief, but they perceive it not. And when it is said to them, the hypocrites, believe as the people or the followers of Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, have believed, Al-Ansar, Al-Muhajirun, it says, believe as they have believed, they say, shall we believe as the fools have believed? Verily, they are the fools, but they perceive it not. Alhamdulillah. And it says, and when they meet those who believe, they say, we believe. But when they are alone with their evil ones, the shaitan, the devils, the polytheists, the hypocrites, they say, truly we were with you. Verily, we were only mocking. It goes on to say, Allah mocks at them and gives them increase in their wrongdoings to wander blindly. These are they who have purchased error for guidance, so their commerce was profitless, and they were not guided. Their likeness is as the likeness of one who kindled a fire. Then, when it lighted all around him, Allah took away their light and left them in darkness. They could not see. They are deaf, dumb, and blind, so they return not to the straight path. Alhamdulillah. Let's talk about these verses briefly. It says, and of mankind there are some that are hypocrites who say we believe in Allah on the last day, while in fact they believe not. These are people who are just going through the motions, going to the prayer, and their heart's not in it. They're putting on a show for man in the process. Their heart was never in it. And so they are of the hypocrites. It says they think to deceive Allah and those who believe, while they only deceive themselves, and they perceive it not. When you're going through these motions, it's best for you not to even go to prayer if your heart's not in it. You're wasting your time. It says in their hearts is a disease of doubt and hypocrisy, and Allah has increased their disease. A painful torment is theirs because they used to tell lies. Because you used to deceive your community, maybe your mother and your father and the people around you when you were going to prayer, and you used to go through the motions and pretend that you were praying, pretend that your heart was in it, pretend you were of the mu'min, the mu'mineen. You were only deceiving yourself in the process, and you were telling lies. And when it is said to them, make not mischief on the earth, they say, we're only the peacemakers. Consider people like, I'm not going to name any names, these so-called ex-Muslims that are calling people to atheism, and trying to present themselves as though they're just trying to get people to live their lives and just to be happy. It says, Alhamdulillah, it says of those people, they call themselves the peacemakers. They claim to be the ones that are trying to guide people and trying to tell people a better way to live, but you're only deceiving yourself. You claim that you're not making mischief, but in the process you're criticizing Islam continually, and you're leading other people astray in the process. And so they say, the Muslims are telling them, asking, why are you continually attacking Islam? Why are you doing this? And these are the verses that are saying, and when it is said to them, make not mischief on the earth, they say, we're only the peacemakers. But Allah says, verily, they are the ones who make mischief, but they perceive it not. And when it is said to them, the hypocrites, believe as the followers of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, the Ummah of Muhammad have believed, they say, shall we believe as the fools believe? These people are the ones that don't want to give up this worldly life. They want to chase their own self-inclinations and do what they want to do. And so they think the Muslims are the fools. And so they say, shall we believe as the fools believe? But verily, Allah says, verily, they are the fools, but they know it not. And when they meet those who believe, they say, we believe. But when they're alone with their shaitan, their evil ones, the devils, the polytheists, the hypocrites, they say, truly we're with you. We were only mocking. These are the people that are going to prayer, but as soon as they get an opportunity, they're drinking alcohol and they're committing adultery, and they're doing all these things that they should not be doing, that is not in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It says Allah mocks at them and gives them increase in their wrongdoings to wander blindly. They are those who have purchased error for guidance. So their commerce was profitless, and they were not guided. They traded the straight path for the path of the shaitan. And so they continually are engaging in seeking things and pleasures of this world instead of fighting their inclinations to do evil and to do wrong for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They've traded that, and so they are not guided. Their likeness is the likeness of one who kindled a fire, and then when it lit all around him, Allah took away their light and left them in the darkness. Even though the light is there, their eyes are closed. They see, but they do not see. They hear, but they do not hear. They are in utter darkness. Allah left them so they could not see. They are deaf, dumb, and blind, so they return not to the straight path in Sirat al-Mustaqim of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our God, our Creator. So, these people are the ones that claim that there's death for people who leave Islam, and it's absolutely wrong. It is false. I'm not saying this has never happened in the history of Islam. I'm not saying that there aren't people who don't follow the statutes and the rules of Islam properly, because absolutely there are, obviously. But the vast majority of the Muslims do not believe this way. The vast majority of the Muslims in this world, 1.6 billion Muslims in the world, are not trying to kill people for leaving Islam. They could care less about these people. Let them leave. I'm not saying they don't care about them at all. I'm saying that it's best to let these people do what they're going to do instead of trying to force them. You can't force them to do anything. Matter of fact, the Quran says, what does it say? Let there be no compulsion in religion. Truth stands clear from error. Whoever rejects evil and believes in Allah has grasped the most trustworthy handhold that never breaks. And Allah hears and knows all things. Allah is the protector of those who have faith from the depths of darkness. He will lead them forth into the light. Of those who reject faith, the patrons are the evil ones. From light they will never lead them forth into the depths of darkness. Alhamdulillah. Allah says truth is made clear from falsehood. Truth has been made clear from falsehood. So either someone's going to follow the truth or they're going to reject it. Allah tells us in the Quran, as for those who disbelieve, it matters not if you warn them or do not warn them, they will not believe. Allah set a seal over their hearts and over their hearing, and over their eyes is the veil. Woe to them for the penalty that they incur. Praise be to Allah. But it says, Allah is the protector of those who have faith from the depths of the darkness. He will lead them forth into the light. And of those who reject the faith, the patrons are the evil ones. From light they will lead them forth into the depths of the darkness. Deaf, dumb, and blind. Praise be to Allah. They will be companions of the fire to dwell therein forever. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from the fire. May He protect us and keep us on the path that He has set forth, the straight path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Sirat al-Mustaqim. And may He protect us from the whisperings of the shaitan. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts my efforts. I ask you to subscribe, like, and share this video if it's helped you in any way. If you're a Muslim, you must learn these 5 or 6 stipulations regarding apostasy so you can share it, inshallah, because these are things that we should all know, that we need to share with non-Muslims. And so I encourage you to seek truth, seek knowledge at all times, seek it from various sources, and I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides us all to better understanding and gives us all wisdom. I leave you by saying, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.